Hello, everybody, and welcome to Building and Chatting podcast. Today, I am talking about Andor Season 2. This is the finale of Andor, the final season of Andor, and we are going to get into the final 3 episodes of Andor. This was the final arc, so this is leads literally right into Rogue One. So yeah, let's talk about it. So episode 10 begins with like Luthen and Clea, his assistant, getting contacted by Lonnie, which was Luthen's Imperial spy. Luthen meets up with Lonnie and is told about the Death Star plans or Project Energy. He said that it is a weapon. Um, and Lonnie's requesting safe passage for him and his family, but Luthen doesn't think he can get him that, so he ends up killing Lonnie. And yeah, then he tells Clea to go, do not move, do not get wrapped up in this. And he will go back to the shop and burn the rebel radio console they have. So Luthen goes back to the shop. He starts the burn on the console, and then he gets a doorbell ring, and Dedra Miro comes in, just saying, are these all real? He says some forgeries might come by and all that, and only 2 could be real. Do you know what they could be? She's like, I don't really know, but I have a piece I brought in. And he's like, well, it'd have to be stunning. And she says, this is an Imperial relay signal device. She says, basically, I know, you are Axis, you are the rebel, one of the rebel leaders. And he's like, well, you found me. And he showed her this knife before she opened the box. And she's like, what have you done? What have you done? Because she sees the radio signal, the radio burning. And then she says, tells Luthen to turn around, put his put his hands up, turn around. And he stabs himself with this ancient knife. And Dedra says that he needs immediate medical support. And Clea sees this, and she's kind of freaking out. Of course, anyone would. It's Luthen's very important to her, and as we definitely see throughout this episode, it hits even harder. And so, Clea goes back to, of course, where Cassian and Bix were in episodes 4 to 6 in that apartment. It's more run down now, but she is in there, and she has a flashback of Luthen. And this is when Luthen was a soldier named Sergeant Learn, and he's like, make it stop, he wants all of the battles to stop, he wants all the war to stop. And he finds her in this little crawl space on the ship he's on, and he protects her and keeps her alive, and vows to help her, and he does. And the next part is Clea goes to the hospital Luthen's at, that the Empire is keeping him, and during this, Partagaz and Sergeant Hurt, all of them figured out that Dedra failed this mission, and that Lonnie is dead. So they basically, Partagaz is like, Dedra failed this mission really, really bad. It's kind of screwed up for everybody. But then it comes back to Clea, and she, like I said, she's at the hospital, steals a nurse's uniform, and then it kind of flashes back because she's using all the devices and tricks Luthen taught her, and it flashes back and it shows them like selling their trinkets for money and like getting using that money to get some food to eat, or the one of the other scenes is she sees like they're trying to trade in something, get some money back, and she sees stormtroopers like probably kill innocent people, and she's like, "Why can't we stand back against this?" And it's like, "We are," and she's like, "By running away." And Luthen's like, "Well, sometimes you have to lose, but you harbor all of that emotion, all that anger, all that stuff, and we use it when we can." And that was what the rebellion basically did. And but basically the thing he tells her in that moment is like he tells her to listen to him and said, "Always listen to me, and I'll like have your back." Basically, just listen to what I tell you to do, and if I say to move, you gotta move. And then Clea moves through the hospital, uh, and is acting like she's and is taking this patient and trying to see one of her family members up to the floor where Luthen's at, but they're like, "Oh, you know, no access to floor 19," so she leaves the patient on floor 17 and goes up a few floors, takes out a few stormtroopers or and Imperial officers, and gets to the door, like gets to the area where Luthen is, and to access it, she pulls out this little device. And it flashes back, and it's basically Luthen saying, like, "We know we can stay here on this planet, or we can go again, and you can, like, be with me, and we can do all of this." She's like, "I thought you wouldn't do this today. I thought you wouldn't give me this choice today." And he says, "Well, I lied. That's something you need to get used to." And, like, the button gets pressed, and this button is, like, a sonic device or a detonator, and it explodes this whole Imperial barricade on this bridge, and like because everyone in the restaurant they're in the freak out and everything. But basically, all these flashbacks are showing how Luthen used his style, like helped Clea survive, and form and like how they like form together. Uh, Basically, and also how he helped, kept her alive and helped her. And it's a really but it's also just like you see how a little bit like he was helping her a lot, but he also was a little manipulative. But it's like but definitely Luthen always had Clea's best interests at heart and was always trying to help her. And then, like I said, that device that Clea has in the present blows stuff up. So she had the device to the detonator to blow up all of these Imperial ships on the hospital's landing pad. So she literally causes a giant distraction. It takes out two more guards that are by Luthen and takes Luthen off his life support because she knows if they save him that he could spill or anything could happen. and also but she also doesn't want him to be tortured either and hurt and everything. So she gives him a form of peace and makes him just go naturally, which is very fair. And as we've seen for this episode, Clea and Luthen were more like father and daughter than like him and his assistant. As we thought, we knew they were really close, but they were like together since Clea was a bit young, and like so they've been father and daughter forever. So seeing him go in peace and kind of get a good ending where he doesn't have to be interrogated, tortured, whatever by the Empire is really nice. And this whole arc has like Luthen's sacrifice for the rebellion all over it. It's really a good story. But then we go into episode 11 because episode 10, like I said, ends with Luthen passing away. Episode 11 starts with Krennic thinking that Dedra is a traitor to the Empire because of Lonnie stealing her badge, basically, and looking into the Death Star files. And Krennic's like, why would you have the Jedha files and all these files about Galen or so and everything? Because she's like, I was trying to look into Axis and I found these files. And basically, they're calling her a traitor. They're like, you know, they don't believe her. And of course, she didn't do anything. But she was just looking into things to try and help. And, well, doesn't go so well. And also during this as well, right after this, the Empire figures out that Clea was a part of the mission where she took out Luthen. And she caused like that whole hospital job by herself. So it's kind of crazy. And then she goes back to like the Andor's old apartment and breaks the wall and reveals a radio and starts to contact Willman. And then Willman finds the signal because his girlfriend now is like, this was beeping this whole time. And he's like, for how long? I'm like, and she said like half an hour. And so he sees it and goes to Andor immediately. While Andor's playing a game of Melshi and K2SO, he sets the this box down, the transponder box, radio box. And as soon as Andor sees the signal, it is the signal that Luthen and Clea gave him if they were ever in trouble to like come immediately. And Andor does. Woman goes and tells Draven, Commander Draven, about this. Like that they were going to go save Luthen because they don't know he's passed away yet. And they like, like contain him to his quarters, Willman. And Andor, Melshi, and K2SO go get into space, and while they're over Coruscant, uh they contact Clea with the sequence, but they did not know this. But the Empire was also listening in. Well, we're at Luthen and Clea's shop. The radio didn't fully burn, and they saw the signal going off of Andor and Clea were sending to each other. So they lock on the frequency to the apartment buildings, and also Dedra tells Hurt about that as well. So they all kind of lock in on these apartment buildings. They find the signal, and then Andor and them get into Coruscant. They go into the building. They go into the building. The signal gets blocked by the Empire, so K2SO cannot talk to Andor and Melshi while they're up here trying to help Clea out. Andor and Melshi find Clea, and she tells them all about that Project Energy is actually a weapon, and that it's connected to Gorman and the Jedha with the Kyber crystals, and Galen Erso. Or for just course, if you've seen Rogue One, and of course you probably should see Rogue One before watching Andor, but Galen Erso is Jyn Erso's dad, which is Jyn's the main protagonist of Rogue One, and he made the Death Star plans were made by him. So Clea tells Andor and them all this, and he's like, "You got to come with us and got to tell them." She's like, "I don't know the same people that didn't really trust Luthen and talk bad." It's like, "It's okay, it will be all right." And then while they're doing this, Empire's was searching door to door, like literally not like putting a gun in like a granny's face. I mean, they scan the upstairs and they see that upstairs is where the signal's coming from. And like as soon as they see that, Andor shoots out or no, sorry, he doesn't shoot it out the box just yet. But then the Empire's gone up and they're walking towards them. But at the end, right before this, K2SO throws like a dude over the edge and takes out the dude in the Imperial ship that's staying outside with the one listening in on the comms. So this takes us K2SO being a menace takes us into episode 12. So Andor at the beginning of episode 12 convinces Clea to leave. Fully convinces her they're ready to go, everything. He shoots the radio box so the signal can't transmit anymore. But as we also see, K2SO took out the pilot of the Imperial shuttle, the ship that's staying outside. So all Imperial signals are blocked. They can't hear each other. Everything's blocked. So part of the gas can't hear nothing either. So it's all pretty good right there. And so they get Clea, Andor, Melshi, and Clea are starting to go out. Melshi goes first, and he gets aimed down upon by all of these Imperial officers and people and the stormtroopers. So he goes back inside, and the Empire throws a stun grenade. And Melshi's kind of like near the front, but Andor and Clea are in like the blast. But they kind of just stand there. I thought they would have kind of moved a little, but they kind of just stand. I guess they're just like they don't really know what it is, so they're like what, but they get stunned by it, and then knocks Andor down, knocks Clea out, and during this, where there's kind of not a lot of hope. K2SO comes in like a wrecking ball and starts destroying the whole Empire. And then they see this dude get thrown against the wall, and then K2SO is like, I am here. Like, I was able to help you, Cassian. So they carry Clea out and put her in the U-Wing, and they leave Coruscant. And then the next scene is the rebel leaders are talking to Saw Gerrera to leave Jeddah, stop attacking Imperial transports and all this stuff on Jeddah. Like, Saw needs to leave. The Star Destroyers just come over, and it's really dangerous. And of course, Saw, being Saw Gerrera, does not listen. So there you go. And and then after they can't convince Saw to do anything, the rebel leaders get told that Andor is back, requesting clearance to land on Yavin. Andor and them all get back. Clea gets sent to the sick bay, to infirmary, and Andor tells the leaders about Project Energy, or the Death Star, and of course being linked to the Gorman Massacre, Jedha Kyber crystals, and Galen Erso. Leaders do not know what to think about all of this and contain him to his quarters, but Mon grants him to see Clea in the infirmary. Right before Andor goes in to see Clea, Draven tells Andor that his contact on Jeddah, Tivik, is saying that he will only talk to him. And he's like, and Andor's like, do we really need to talk about this right now? He says, well, maybe we should, but... And then Andor goes in to see Clea. And him and Clea talk about, like, I'm doing the best I can here to try and convince everyone. It's just a lot to take in right now. Clea kind of understands that a bit, but she's also a little disappointed. You know how that goes. And right after this, Andor's going to his quarters, sees Will, and tells Willman that Luthen has passed away. He is gone and not around anymore. And they have a good, a hug it out, and then Andor goes to his quarters. During this as well, Mon Mothma tells Vale to keep kind of spy on Andor, or to figure out if what he's saying about Project Energy or the Death Star, as we know it, is true. And Val goes and talks to Andor, and they have a good little tribute about everyone who's passed through this. The tragedy of Gorman, Aldani, Ferrex, Cassian's mother, Cinta, everybody that's passed away throughout the entirety of season 1 and season 2 does get mentioned in the tribute, and they drink to them. And then Val asked Andor straight up, do you believe this? Do you believe that this is real? And I said, he says, Luthen died for this. And Clea would not lie about it. And during this, Clea gets out of her medical bed and is walking to Andor's cabin. And Val sees her while she's walking out of Andor's and is like, come here, you need to get some rest, and let's just talk for a bit. And she said, and Val's like, it must have been hard what you had to do for Luthen, seeing him like that and everything. And Val and Draven during this, while Andor is at his quarters, kind of just, doing his thing. Draven gets contacted over and is told, hey, Tivik will only talk to Andor, only will meet with Andor, so we better get him. And Draven's like, well, I guess we should get him back in the fight, back in this loop, so we can just kind of see what's going on. And then Draven goes to Andor and is like, hey, Tivik, wants to meet with you, but also the thing with Luthen happening all in the span of these few days, this week, means something. Something's really going down, and I think we just need to fully look into all of this and see. So Andor's like, okay, we'll see about that. And then they go and tell. And he says, basically, they're saying, we kind of feel like we need you, but Mon and Draven, go and talk to Bail Organa about it, too. And they convince Bail Organa that, Andor needs to go to Jeddah and do this and figure out these things. So, they grant him the mission to Jeddah, and as we know, Jeddah is where Cassian Andor was when we meet him in Rogue One. And so it really does conclude that part. And as he's walking to the ship, he sees the Force healer on the way to the U-Wing. And of course the Force healer was the one that told Bix that, he should fight for the rebellion. Basically convinced Bix, Andor is important to this. And he has hope for this. He believes it can succeed, but in a way, she also he needs Bix too, as a comfort. But Bix is like, no, he needs me gone, and that's what Bix left. And there's more, but I'm going to get into that. But as we see here, after that, we see a few different shots of different characters throughout this whole show. Basically the endings of characters. As we know here, Krennic oversees the Death Star completion. It's almost fully done, and as we know, it fully finishes up by the end of Rogue One. Basically. But Krennic's overseeing that. Partagaz, he takes himself out because he doesn't want to be interrogated, tortured by the Empire about what he did. And his Lieutenant, the other one that's always been with him, Officer Lagert, was the one that he's like to Lagert. He's like, "Can I just have a moment and like peace, gather my thoughts?" And he takes himself out, like how basically Luthen did. And because he doesn't want to be put through all of the stuff the Empire does, all the interrogation and all that stuff. It was just easier to just go out his own terms, so he did that. And then Dedra is also in the Imperial prison from season 1, where Andor was in it with Andy Serkis, the guy that plays Gollum, and so I think that character's name is Kino. But yeah, it's like the same looking prison and everything. But she's in Imperial prison because I think she's a traitor, and she basically just breaks down, being she didn't do. I mean, there were some things she did wrong, like taking the lead on things, like kind of ruining the chance for the Empire to talk to Lupin and everything, but she also wasn't a traitor. She was committing everything to it, and it ended up, she committed too much, and she screwed herself over because she took the lead. She overstepped multiple people, and, well, that happens. And then the big reveal, everybody. The main reason that Biggs left Andor and said that she will find him again once like the war is over, and once she knows that Andor can finally kind of like rest and get away from all of it. You ready for this one? It is revealed during the gap of time from the last batch of episodes when Biggs left to now that she was carrying Andor's child, which is one of the most heartbreaking reveals of like all Star Wars now, because we know what happens to Andor when he goes on his mission to Jeddah. He does not make it off of Scarif. Like, he makes it off Jeddah, of course, but the end of Rogue One is everyone passing away on Scarif. So Biggs having that hope, I think, that she could be with him and his kid, and they could all kind of figure it out. It's so much more heartbreaking now because we just felt like it was Biggs, right? It's just her, and but now it's been also confirmed that she did carry and also can see like she did carry and birth their child. So now it's a very heartbreaking thing, but it is more hopeful too, like Bix and Andor Jr. over here, but it's a lot. I think it's like, it's good that Bix and Andor had that, but that he will never. The heartbreaking thing about the ending is Andor will never know that he had a kid, because he passes away before he can find that out and know about what Bix had and everything. And so it's very like it's good that like there's like that hope for Bix, like she has the kid and everything, but also the heartbreaking part of it too, that like Andor will never know, and he probably will never saw or nothing his child, and it's very sad, and I think it kind of hits me a little bit too, because it's like I just became a father last year very recently, and it's just that kind of thing is very like it's just one of those things where it's like, if you have that connection and you know how it feels, it's just very hard to even like think about like, hey, like I would never see my kid or nothing. It's like that is because that's terrible, and it's just like that's it's. I did love the ending of Andor. It was such a good ending, and the way they did it, to have it be able hopeful, but also know that Andor can't have that happy life at the end, is also kind of like a little heartbreaking too. But it's been such a good run for Andor seasons 1 and 2, and I really think that you will enjoy this this whole season. If you want to watch it fully and like get everything, I would highly recommend it. It's such a good show. But thank you all for watching. I am Bounty Hunter Live, a host and owner of the Building and Shining podcast. But thank you for watching the finale review of Andor. The whole show is done. This is the season 2 finale, but also the series finale. So thank you all for sticking with us through Andor season 2 as well. We have really enjoyed and covered it. I have, and my friends, we talk about it on our streams as well. It's been really fun to discuss, talk about, and just have something good for Star Wars. And that is really good, and it has been a good thing to watch. And now that it's over, I'm excited for whatever comes next. Mainly Mall Shadow War probably, but yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye.